Greetings, friends and crafters. Hail and well met. Let me tell you a story. This project goes with the backstory for Grod, one of the minor characters of my fictional world, a planet called Thea. Grod is originally from an old forest deep in the mountains that surround the calm but colorful town of Idylwilde. Through a series of misadventures, he lands in a faraway city named Stormkill. Stormkill, the city of riches and dread. It is in this unlikely place that Grod learns to bake bread. Recapping the last episode, we learn that Grod escaped a vengeful band of warriors by leaping through a mysterious portal. This is where we begin our story. Narrowly escaping death, Grod finds himself falling through the air before plunging into a cold, choppy sea. As he swims to the surface, he comes up, gasping for air. It is night. The sky is filled with unfamiliar constellations. Treading water in the darkness, he can see lights in the distance. After a long, exhausting swim to shore, he finds himself on a dark, rocky coastline. Tired and shivering from the cold wind, he finds shelter in the hollow of massive boulders and falls into a deep, dreamless sleep. In the early light of dawn, cries of gulls wake him. Emerging from the sheltering rocks, he sees a long expanse of coastline stretching in either direction. As dawn brightens to morning light, he turns inland and sees the gleaming skyline of a city with numerous ornate spires. Wisps of smoke rise up between the towers. With his keen sense of smell, he detects the cooking fires, food, sweat, animals, incense, flowers, and the 100 other odors that indicate city life, the smells of civilization. The sandpipers and the gulls warn him not to go there. Too much hunger, too many predators, they squawk. Danger. With no easy choice, Grod thanks the birds for their warning and heads to the city, coming upon a meager cobblestone road. The worn road is surrounded by scrubby bushes and dunes. There is a thin line of traffic ahead. People on foot with heavy packs, small carts, a caravan of strange wagons pulled by wailing beasts Grod had never seen before, sailors and merchants. Grod notices that they all seem to come from different places, all colors of skin and shapes of beings. He is hardly noticed among them. He passes guards who seem to look past him or through him. Grod notices that the guards are in pairs, one with armor, one with robes and a staff. He wanders into a crowded street packed with all manner of folk and animals. It is impossible to tell who the residents are from the foreigners. He blends right in. He wanders the streets, taking in the new sights in restless activity. Carried on the breeze, he hears a few words of conversation in his home tongue. He also hears Arbati, one of the languages taught to him by the witch hunters. Straining to hear over the noise of the streets, he hears about a ship named the Vanifica leaving soon, but can't make out much more. The speakers are outfitted like mercenaries, all weapons and hard looks. They notice his interest and fade into the crowd. His stomach growls with hunger. He wanders the streets, considering his options. With the ache in his belly growing, he glances around for food he might pilfer. Drifting through the streets, he comes to a wide plaza, full of colorful merchant tents and vendors selling goods laid out on ornate carpets. He sees a kiosk in the square. He has seen many similar structures during his forced travels. The cuff he still wears on his wrist chafes and itches. Maybe it's the seawater. It seems the portal may have disabled the pain-inducing enchantment on it, or perhaps he is too far away for the command word to reach him. The job kiosk is crowded with parchments describing offers for work. Many are written in multiple languages. There are even hieroglyphics on some. Grod knows them from a book owned by Kremp, the witch hunter that taught him how to read. Most of the listings are for smithies, artisans, or assistants needed in workshops. They all require familiarity with the arcane. There's a very large poster for crew positions aboard a vessel named the Vanifica. It has a long list of qualifications. Must be fearless and willing to travel. Must know how to use a weapon. Sailing experience a plus. Excellent pay and benefits. All meals in a cot. 5-year contract. Serious inquiries only. See Captain Brogus at the Pier of Sorrows. Grod briefly entertained this option, but decided he'd had enough of traveling and fighting. If he sought any meaningful work, the thrall cuff on his wrist might be a problem. It would mark him out as a servant, not a free being. He would have to find some way of covering it. One offer stands out. Bread delivery. Must be strong enough to pull a cart and willing to work nights. Food and lodging negotiable. See Spira at the bread shop. For the better part of the day, he wandered the busy streets, memorizing the names as he went searching. Golden Spire Avenue, Storm Road, Redleaf Street, Pier Road. The street names here were not much different from those of any of the small towns and cities he had known when he was conscripted to serve the witch hunters. What was very different were the people. There were so many different kinds. Woodfolk, humans, a few Mosbita, 6-legged walking contraptions, feline and canid variants, and beings he had never seen but that he suspected had fey blood. Grod was still the tallest one in the streets except for one single being. Tall and lean, with bluish-greenish skin and bright green eyes, and Unori walked past him. Grod tried not to stare, but he craned his head to look up at the being who was much taller, but weighed maybe half as much. Noticing Grod standing with his mouth open in awe, the tall humanoid nodded to him and said in Arbati, a common language across Thea, "Hello," and walked quietly past, barely making a sound. The location of forests where the Unori lived was a closely guarded secret, so to actually see one was extremely rare. Grod was overcome by a wave of guilt then. He had killed many fey folk during his time as a soldier for the witch hunters. Only a few days ago, he had been on a raid ordered by witch hunter Falkus, the leader of the warband. Grod hoped there were no thought readers in Stormkill. He found himself grateful that the portal had dropped him into the sea. It washed the blood off his hands from the recent battle. He rubbed at the thrall cuff that he had been wearing for the last 7 years. The skin underneath was tough and leathery and constantly itched. It had been attached to his wrist the day he was taken by witch hunter Falkus, the leader of the ruthless, bloodthirsty platoon. Grod was much smaller then, and escape was impossible. After slipping it on, Falkus told Grod to pay careful attention to what happens next. Falkus uttered a single word, and the manacle inflicted excruciating pain that dropped Grod to his knees, screaming, feeling like his skin was on fire and every nerve had been dipped in acid. The overwhelming agony caused him to pass out. He awoke, face down in the dirt, surrounded by the laughing soldiers of Falkus's warriors. Falkus told him that if he ever disobeyed or tried to escape, that cuff would unleash its full power, no matter where he was. Falkus added that if he did somehow ever manage to escape, he would come back and burn the forest where he was found. Lost in the painful memories of his past, Grod lets out a groan that catches the attention of the passing Unori. The tall, graceful being returns and asks Grod, "What is wrong, little one?" Grod had not been called little one since he last saw his parents. He looks up but can't find words. He can't admit that he is a murderer, and certainly not to a stranger he just met. He simply says he is looking for a bread shop owned by a woman named Spira. The Unori says, "Come, I will take you to her. She is much respected among my people." After a short walk, they arrive. The Unori bids Grod good luck and walks away. This part of Stormkill seems somehow like home. The buildings are smaller and cozier. The people here speak quietly and laugh softly. He can hear singing coming through an open window. Children chase each other through the broom-swept streets, laughing till they are out of breath. Grod had not heard children laugh in years. He walks into the shop with the smell of fresh bread filling the air, and his stomach rumbles again. Spira, a tall, lean woman with dark skin and dreadlocked hair, seated at a table measuring out herbs with a scale. Spira stands up, looks Grod up and down. "You're a big 'un." Her shop is neat and well maintained, a shelf of jars meticulously labeled against one wall. Grod says, "I'm here about the job." Spira sees the scars and then the cuff. "If you're going to work for me, we need to get that evil thing off of your arm." Over the next few years, Grod has many adventures delivering bread for Spira, but those are stories yet to be told. Thanks for listening. The inspiration for Stormkill came from my need for an adventure playground, someplace old, mysterious, and powerful, a city-state run by aloof mages at the trade crossroads of a churning, restless ocean. Stormkill Island is an ancient place where every major ley line of magic converges. The volcanoes that dominate the island spew not only lava, but magic energy, sending plumes of enchanted ash drifting across Thea. These clouds of magic function as power sources and catalysts for change. On Thea, magic functions as technology. Constructs made by mad mages function as AI, or arcane intelligence. Magic is just as much a science on Thea as quantum physics is in our world. The oldest civilization on Thea is a race of slug-like beings known as the Muspota. But the Muspota are unique in that they are immune to magic. They can be affected by physical forces created by magic, like falling walls, but they are utterly unaffected by magical energy. Magically charged missiles, lightning, fire, anything created by magic will pass through them with no effect. Why this is, only the selfish gods of Thea know. I also admit to having an obsession with portals, so I had to include them as part of the lore on Thea. I really enjoyed the Stargate series, so it was only natural for me to incorporate some of those ideas into my imaginings, but with my own twist on it. The portals serve to keep the magical energy flowing so that it does not concentrate or become stagnant in one spot across the planet. They occur naturally through processes not well understood. They're kind of like lightning storms or weather phenomenon. They appear and disappear at random, lasting for hours or centuries. They play an important role in how magic energy gets distributed across Thea. Over the course of the next videos, I hope to elaborate on these topics in more detail. I hope you'll come along for the ride.